Welcome back to Hot Takes and Deep Dives. This is Jess, and I am on with Ryan Bailey.
Hello.
Hello. And you're the host of the podcast So Bad It's Good with Ryan Bailey. Brilliant title, by the way.
Thank you.
You are the token straight guy among the Bravo podcast community.
You know, you have a lot of women, lesbian, gay, like it's just all this great, like these amazing people, but you don't see a lot of white straight men in this. And sometimes I feel like an interloper, maybe like it's like I kind of sometimes come into this feeling like, oh my God, I hope they don't think I hope they let me in their club. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know that sounds really silly, but it's one of those things where you're like, I really, 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 really love these things. I don't know why. Can I sit at your guys' table? I don't want to overtake anything. I just want to be a part of it. Like, just let me, like, that was like my thing as a kid. Like, I just want to be invited. Like, I don't need to be the head of anything. Yeah. Can I just be a part of this, you know?
Here's why I'm drawn to you. Your show is different. It is like a radio show. And it reminds me of the Howard Stern show.
That's, you nailed it, actually. Because so you guys that don't know, like I do this really, really long podcast, way too long. I know that goes against every kind of podcast. Like, nobody recommends doing a 4-hour podcast. It goes against everything that I've been told. But what I think about it is in terms of like Howard Stern, I grew up on those 4-hour everyday radio shows. And what fascinated me about Howard Stern was how he interpreted his own life, how he talked to guests, how he made a reality show based around all of the staff members. And that's why on my podcast, my parents are always a part of it. You'll have like people in my life. You'll hear stories like we used to do Bailey Blunders about like just horrible things I've done on dates and things like that. I want people to feel like they know me. I want this to be, I'm too lazy to write a journal. So if this can be also my journal on top of talk about the pop culture and the reality shows that I really, really love, these embarrassing moments like Aviva throwing her leg or Ramona saying turtle time or David from the real world back in the day going, come on, be my baby tonight.
Yes.
All of these things, if we can have this space for that, and it is a little different because there's timestamps, so you can come and go as you please. If you don't want to hear me talk in the beginning about myself, you can go right to the Vanderpump Rules section, or you can go right to the guest section or the New York section, or we do a lyric breakdown of a song each week that a housewife writes, and I interpret the lyrics. I try to make it something for everybody, and it seems like there's an audience for that, and it's really, really cool. But I know I know it's annoying for people to see 4 hours and be like, are you kidding me?
But it really is as if the Howard Stern show was totally centered around housewives and pop culture. And in fact, he actually is a Housewives fan. Like he loves Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, in the sense that both of you are, because you're talking, you have your parents on, it's theater of the mind in the way that Howard does.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I mean, it really is. And I'm sure you find this as well, is that like once you do start, you do become more relaxed. You do become more open. You are interested in hearing more opinions. This has been like, I said it this week to a guest. I was talking to Brian Moylan, and I was saying this feels like a Make-A-Wish Foundation for me, where I get to now reach out to the people that I've always respected and loved their opinions, and I get to actually talk with them and interact with them. Are you kidding me?
That's how I feel.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Like I know you're going to come on in a couple of weeks, and it's like, oh, cool, we can continue that conversation.
So tell me, like, what was your entry point to Housewives?
Housewives, it's one of those things that I remember. As everybody, it always starts for me with Real World Season 1. Then you got into Survivor, which started the game show element of it. So those things I was always fascinated. So Real World, Road Rules, always into that. Then Survivor added that whole other element to it. And that's when around the time after that a little bit, you got Bravo. And Bravo started doing those kind of interesting things. But Housewives, I think my initial one was New York. Was OC before New York?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was OC, and it was.
So you've been watching since the beginning?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's never been a.
Wow.
There's never. But also the funny thing is, I didn't even know communities existed. I didn't know about Facebook groups until a couple years ago. I didn't know about I wasn't up on podcasts. I really sat with this stuff in my head, and it was one of those things, if I went to like a dinner party or randomly somebody brought it up, it would always be the girlfriends of my friends at like sporting event viewing things. They would be watching sports and somebody would say, "Oh my God, did you see Vicky freak out on that van driver?" And I'd be like, "Oh my God, do you watch OC?" And then we would like I would take them back in a corner of the room and we would just talk for like an hour, and then my guy friend would make fun of me, you know?
But like, have the good, like, women you've dated, they must be thrilled that you're into the Housewives.
Well, I was, unfortunately I was married. I'm divorced now. So my ex was always cool with it. I don't think it was her dream, but like, it was like, and also I think that, I mean, we'll see how that plays out, if that actually is the case, but I don't know about that. It's probably great. And then you probably get to know me and you're like, I'd rather you watch sports, like I'm good, I'm good. I'll find somebody else.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely agree. Like, this analogy has been said many times, but yeah, like, I definitely see the Housewives. Like, I don't watch sports either. And it definitely is, each team is the different franchise, and people compare them, and you got the players, and there's always talk of wanting to trade the players. People want Cynthia Bailey to go on Beverly Hills. So it definitely does. The passion behind it and also the thinking behind it is so comparable to sports.
Yes. Well, I don't know if you got sucked into this, but during quarantine, but I got sucked into that Last Dance Michael Jordan documentary on ESPN, and it was a 10-part. Well, and I don't even like sports, but I'll see. Here's the deal: if you put sports in some kind of reality show format, I'm like in. But I watched this 10-part sports thing, and you're right. Like, ever since I watched that, I've been comparing everything to sports. I've been like, you know what? Ramona's got a good defense, but she, her offense is too intense. And like, you think about these things, like, why can't we trade certain people to other franchises? Yeah. Like, let's put Nene over to OC. Let's put you start to think about it in terms of sports, everything of like, we were talking about like, wow, Dorinda's not having a great season. Let's see how she does on the second half of the season,
Totally, Yeah. What is your favorite franchise?
I mean, God, this is, to me, anybody that in podcasting, I feel like we all have the same answer. I think it's got to be RHONY. I mean, I feel like they're working on a different level. There's room for everything, because I think Beverly Hills is killing it this season. And I hated Beverly Hills. I hated Beverly Hills for the last 3 seasons. It felt like a job. But New York has always been on constant. But I almost feel like it is it's like independent film compared to a blockbuster. Like, I'm always going to dig that independent film because there's layers and there's an onion and there's like, oh my God, the pathos of life that's coming through here. You guys don't even understand what's happening. Like, you would watch this week's episode 3 times because everybody was talking over themselves so much, and you could bump up the audio on each different person and get a different story depending on who you followed. But Beverly Hills, to me, this season, that's like a blockbuster movie. Like,
Same.
Yeah. It's glossy, it's glamorous, but to me, RHONY always will have my heart in a different way.
Let's go deep on, let's talk about these new episodes, or sort of like where we are with New York and Beverly Hills, because those are my 2 franchises as well, and it's also what's on the air. So let's first talk about New York. How do you feel this season is going?
So it's funny. I personally, it's so funny reading online comments and because, after last night's episode, they're just like, it's too much. It's just going crazy. It's too much. Bethany's not there to ground them, which, by the way, let me point out that Bethany also was the one that did the Life is Not a Cabaret monologue and flipping freaked out in a beautiful monologue, mind you. But like, it's not like she was the extreme grounding force. But I gotta say, I think it's great. Is it a little wild? Is it crazy? Are they saying weird things about alcohol? Sure. But like, I think it is still one of the most entertaining hours of TV that you're going to get, dollars to donuts. But I think if Real Housewives of Beverly Hills wasn't having the season it was having, this is once again a sports thing. If you compare it to another team, if this like Los Angeles Lakers weren't doing as good as the Chicago Bulls, it's just that Beverly Hills is doing so good this season that it's making RHONY look a little sloppy. And if I don't think you had those two to compare, I think it would be an insane season. Leah's come out of nowhere to be this kind of really great force in this Housewives community, and I don't think anybody counted on that. I think there's just so much. It's just that there's a darkness that seeps in sometimes with RHONY too, because you have Dorinda, and we had full slur Dorinda again this week, like, which, by the way, I'm proud of her that she pulled herself out of that situation and went somewhere, she's like, I'm going to go home. Great. But like, there's darkness there that we see. And sometimes that also affects your viewing thing. If you're like, oh my God, Dorinda's really going through something, like there's that darkness that you realize that you're like, oh, I can't laugh wholeheartedly because this is somebody that's obviously going through a lot of pain and it's affecting others negatively, You
touched on the alcohol issue. And for me, for me personally, I feel like it's a little too much in the sense that every episode seems to be hinging on the antics that ensue when they're wasted. And it really didn't used to be like that, in the sense that every single episode, there's at least one totally insane scene. It really didn't used to be that way. It was much more grounded seasons 7 through 11.
But you think about that though, like, because I've been watching supercuts of all the falls and all that stuff, and you had like the trip where they poop themselves on the boat and all that stuff, and that was like a wild trip at times. But I see what you're saying. But it is interesting though. We are so trained now with this season to expect the alcohol that when they did the tea party at the very end and they said it was no alcohol, I was almost like, oh, no alcohol? Should I even watch this? Like you get so used to like a certain style that you're like, can they still make this entertaining without the alcohol? Because it seems like that's the path they're headed. But you're right. Like it didn't used to be like that as much as it is now. And we've had some real banger episodes like, the Hamptons, Lea, Tiki Tour, like that was like.
I did feel that the first episode in Rhode Island, the one 2 weeks ago, where Lea kicking the camera was the most hilarious thing I ever saw in my life. I do have to say that. I felt like the Tiki Torch episode and that episode, with the kicking the camera, the first Rhode Island episode, I thought were like honestly 5 stars. And yes, it was all based on like being wasted, but it was funny. It wasn't just debauchery. There was a level of intelligence to it, whereas I felt like the whole, the stuff with them at like this restaurant this week, and with the guy, with Ramona's guy that she's hitting on, like we've seen it before.
That's interesting because we have seen it before, but that is actually what Ramona does in the wild. Yeah. But by the way, I did have this like really dark thought last night, and I kind of obsessed on it. I was like, I wonder if I was in a bar, if I would be somebody that Ramona would hit on or Ramona would make fun of. Like I really got because Ramona like hit on the one dude that turns out to not be a great guy. If you look into his he's from Alabama, like he's in government. But then the guy's friend, she kind of made fun of, and I was like, would I be the cool guy to Ramona or the nerdy guy to Ramona? And I'll always now wonder that for the rest of my days.
I've actually been at a restaurant in Midtown, just like sitting at the bar. It was like after some like movie, and she literally, like, it turned out that she was at the bar with a friend, kind of like an Elise Slane type, but like a little bit older. And
wait, who?
Yeah, exactly. And she literally behaved in that exact way, was pretty much ignoring the friend. A guy came over and she started talking to him, and eventually that guy left, and she was like, let's go. There are no guys here. I could literally, I've seen this like multiple times.
Oh my God. Well, by the way, you were there at the Luann with her ex-boyfriend with
Jacques.
Why am I blanking?
Yes.
Jacques, yeah.
Oh, I can't believe you know that. That's so funny.
And you said he did the whole didn't he bomb for like 15 minutes straight?
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I'll go deep on when I go on your podcast, I'll tell you 10,000 stories that I've physically been there for. What was your take on Lea's sister? We didn't really get too much of her, but she's going to be a bigger figure as the season goes on. Like, I know for a fact Elise does not go on the big cast trip to Mexico, and I'm pretty sure that the sister does go. I think the sister.
Oh, wow.
I'm not going to sign a document saying for sure that she does, but I'm pretty sure that that's true. And also, as the season goes on, I was at a couple more events that Elise was not at, and her sister Sarah was at.
Yeah. So wait, do you get like a newsletter that tells you where all these events are filming? Like, can I get on a newsletter?
That is so funny. honestly, each filming situation is a different. It's all anything that I've ever been at that was filmed. Each situation was independent from another. Like, for example, I went to an episode coming up. There's going to be the 15th anniversary party for Married to the Mob, Lea's clothing line.
Yeah.
And that one, Lea sent me like a flyer too, because I'd been in touch with her, just saying like they're looking for people to fill up these spaces, you know, like they need bodies in the room. So that was that. What else? Oh, a very, very small event I went to. I mean, you're gonna see, you will absolutely see this on the show. So you know how Luann was meeting with Ben Rimmelauer in this week's episode to talk about her new show? So it's probably toward the finale. Luann does sort of a rehearsal for this new show.
For F, Marry, Kill.
For F, Marry, Kill. And they needed people to sit there, and so Ben Rimmelauer, I know him well. Like I've interviewed him before, and I'm actually friendly with the guy. I love him, and he invited me to. They needed bodies, you know, and there were literally like 20 people, and like, you know, Lea's sister was there. Like it was like Sonia, Dorinda, Lea, and Lea's sister, and of course Luann.
So you saw a workshop version of F, Marry, Kill?
Correct.
You saw an off-Broadway version of F, Marry, Kill. That's amazing. See, by the way, that's what
I have a lot to say, which I'm going to save it. Yeah.
That's so exciting. I mean, I think about like, will F, Marry, Kill be my first post quarantine show? Like, well, like, can you imagine I got to get tickets to the first post COVID Luann show? Like that was going to be a huge show because you know she's dying not performing.
What has been your biggest loss? This is funny. What has been your biggest loss? You know, something like a live event that you like legitimately had tickets to or were planning on going to, and now it's just obviously canceled.
So many. I'm like a concert freak. I love live music. It's one of those things that I feel like it's really like it's one of those things that I just love the energy. But I had tickets the week that this happened to the Strokes, that band, nice. And I had Taylor Swift tickets for the out in LA, and I was going to see Billie Eilish that I wanted to check her out.
Oh my
so
God.
those were actually like, and those are so those are all big ones that I was really, really bummed about. But I mean, I would trade any of those shows just for like a live event in one of my friends' backyards again and being able to see everybody, you know. But this will be the first amount of time. Like I used to see concerts every 2 weeks. Like it just was such a part of my life. So I mean, God, I've seen Countess Luann 2 times. Like I mean, so it's all loss.
Yeah, absolutely. I will quickly say that my biggest loss, you know, just like event wise, concert wise, I really was planning on seeing Janet Jackson.
Oh my God.
In Brooklyn. She was supposed to play New York in June. I've never seen her live, and she's one of my favorite artists, obviously, and that's a goddamn bummer. But
yeah,
do you have any final thoughts on New York before we jump? I want to talk Vanderpump because we got the reunion, and obviously Beverly Hills. Do you have any final thoughts? Maybe you want to. I'd love your 2 cents on our very own Elise Slane.
Well, Elise, my theory on Elise is that she is a ghost, that we're the only people that can see her, and the cast, that's why nobody talks to her. I mean, it is funny. It's one of those, I know she's a friend of, but it's like, they've introduced her in such a weird way that, you know, like sometimes it's kind of, even Teddy looks like a major character compared to Elise. Like, you know, it's like sometimes I'll just forget Teddy's there in a scene in Beverly Hills, and then I'll be like, oh, yes. Teddy. Elise is the same way. Like when Lea was like tearing down structures at that dinner, when she was trying to like tear down, like just doing roles, like I kept going like, oh, Elise is there. Like she's not in. Elise wasn't even reacting.
No,
most of the time.
Elise literally half the time is staring into space.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. So and so I kind of like it. I don't mind Elise, but it is funny when she decides to talk up, or like, you know, and she was doing all the "I'd kiss you, I'd make out with you," like all of a sudden this week, and I was like, okay, that's something, you know.
So
and
the thing but you know what's bugging me about Elise is okay. My 2 cents. I've never met her. I mean, I know the stuff that's been in the tabloids about her husband, whatever, not paying a housekeeper, yada yada. Let's put that on a shelf. Just given what I'm seeing in front of me, she does come off like a fairly normal well-adjusted,
Yes.
well-adjusted
Yeah,
person.
totally.
It really bugs when I see her in the confessionals and she's clearly being fed lines and direction from producers. Like when she was imitating Ramona, there's no way in hell that she just did that on the fly. It's almost, she reminds me a little bit of Jules Weinstein.
Oh, which, by the way, wait. Have you gone back and watched an episode with Jules? I went back and watched some of those Berkshire's episodes.
I love Jules.
In retrospect, I think she's great. I think I would have loved to have seen her continue on the show.
It is a tragedy that we never got another season with Jules. The fact that Kristen Tankman, who is the worst housewife, I would put her below Cindy Barshop, honestly. And I have a full scholarship. I have a full scholarship in Real Housewives of New York. I've seen every season multiple times.
Yeah.
Like so many times. So it really is a full scholarship that I have on that. And there's nobody I dislike more as a housewife than Kristen Tankman. I just felt like she didn't give anything. Jules was great. We had so much to work with. I think the only reason she never came back was because of the legal stuff with the husband.
Which, by the way, I would have loved to have heard her take on all of that stuff. Could you imagine if we got to see her rise up and become strong again? And I think it would have been such a great message for women. I think it would have been really fascinating. But Elise, I will say though, Elise is surprising sometimes, because 2 episodes ago, remember when they got into the van and all of a sudden Elise became Don Rickles and was doing like a Dorinda imitation of like, Ramona, don't you do this? Like, remember she was doing like this whole thing, and I was like, maybe Elise is like some kind of like, like shock comic or something when she's like in like small groups of people. It's weird when I don't know. Elise is a riddle that I don't even care to solve, like,
yes,
it's like,
exactly.
It's like, I'm sure there's something there, but I don't even know if I need to see it,
Yeah.
Wait. It's like you said, this is it exactly. It's like you said, these Housewives events always need people to be there in the background. I feel like she's that person, but just like higher up. We need one more person to fill the bench, and that's it.
And then eventually Ramona turns on her, and I'm interested to see the way that plays out. But until we get there, she's kind of useless. Before we jump into Beverly Hills, I definitely want to talk about how Bravo and Andy himself have addressed the Black Lives Matter movement and the criticism that they both are under for the delay in the words of solidarity.
Yeah.
This has happened in the last week, and there's so much criticism coming out for both of them. Did you notice during New York, literally in a scene in white, it said Bravo stands in solidarity with the Black Lives Matter movement? Did you catch that? It was on the screen. It was on the screen.
If I did, it would have solved everything for me. But no, I didn't catch that at all. Bravo, unfortunately, has never been proactive to me, and it starts with their cast members. We've seen some of their cast members do horrific things, not only on the shows, but off the shows. And they've never had, whether it be Southern Charm, whether it be Stassi's had some very interesting comments in the past. Mm-hmm. I had Raven from Mainly Bravo on a long time ago, and we talked about the problematic side of Bravo. It was like a little episode on that, because there's so many examples before this horrific events in this last couple of weeks happened. This has been an ongoing issue, and Bravo never seems to be able to. I can't tell what their stance is. I know they say this, but they never say it quickly enough. They don't address the people on their shows, which I understand. I'm not taking any of my social cues on how to treat people from any of these people on Bravo. I just would never do that to myself, nor am I looking for the right way to go from them. But what I am looking for is, when I believe in a company, when I believe in a product like all of these shows, I hope that they can reflect my values and views. That doesn't mean you kick everybody off that has like these insane views, because we need that too. We need to see that there are stupid people. We need that to be pointed out. We need, I don't say like, of course, we don't want this cookie cutter reality show format where everybody are robots and we all think that, like, no, but we do need to point out it is incorrect. And we do need to point out that then that's stupid and you're stupid, and we will make fun of you, and we will, like, you will learn eventually what the not the correct way of thinking, but a different way of thinking is. Like, no, I don't know. That's what the frustrating part is. I'm not saying fire everybody that's ever said, like, no, that's not reality. Reality would be to keep these people on, but call them out. Mm-hmm. Like, the fact that, the Vanderpump Rules Zoom reunion, yes. Brett and Mac, we got the 45 seconds of them calling out for their racist tweets. And then, well, we solved it, folks. Well, James, what did you think of Kristen this season? It's got to be more than that. There's got to be, and I'm not saying I'm not for cancel culture. Like, it's like, here's the deal. I know one day, and I don't mean in terms of race or anything, but I will say something stupid if I haven't already. The difference on me or you or somebody is that there's a willingness to learn. I want to learn to be better. This week has been so enlightening in so many ways, and it is nobody's responsibility to teach me, I don't know if you can cuss on here.
Of course.
But it's nobody's responsibility to teach me shit. But the tools are out there for everybody. If you go on your Instagram stories right now, there's more than a treasure trove of information about things, about issues that people are dealing with. Like, these are horrific things. And if you can't, it's not just the actor in me that can put myself in somebody else's shoes, but everybody's got to try. Everybody's got to try to say, like, as if. Like, how do I put myself? Can you imagine if I walked down the street and somebody made fun of the color of my skin? How would that make me feel as a person? I've never dealt with that before. How, and I know this is a little very serious, but it does spill over into our Bravo world. It does spill over. This is, we have so many great voices, and this is such a great community. It would be a shame for us not to handle these things correctly, so we can continue to hear all the voices to make fun. And by the way, at the end of the day, the only person we ever need to hate is Jax Taylor. That's it.
Here's the question. Do you think that any fans' viewing habits will actually change based on Bravo's action or inaction in the last week?
I don't think so. I mean, I don't think so at all. I mean, here's the deal. Tuesday, when it was the worst in LA where I was, I mean, in terms of, we had just, the street I live on was just rioted and looted. And like one of the huge fires was literally 500 steps from where I live. Like, wow. It was right in the middle of everything. And Tuesday was just such this shocking, and I tweeted out, I remember, said, I don't know if now's the right time for a Vanderpump Rules Zoom reunion. Mm-hmm. And, and I was kind of like a tongue-in-cheek thing, but at the same time, I was like, I don't know if I can deal with this right now. I don't know if I can, but guess what? I watched it, and, at moments, I gotta say, it did make me laugh. It did, at moments. It did. And of course, all of this stuff is escapism, but we just have to make sure it's not escapism where you're escaping 100%. That's not the reality we deserve right now, and I believe you can have both, but it is up to us, the viewer, to prioritize, and if somebody's hurting, we're all hurting. And I hope Bravo reflects that in their decisions and learns from their inaction. I do believe Andy believes in a lot of amazing causes, and I don't really know how much control, that stuff I don't know. You probably would know better than me how much control Andy has of all of this universe, the Bravo cinematic universe. But, it's not going to change viewing habits, I don't think, but hopefully it'll change some ways people think about everything out in the world,
You raise a good point, things that Stassi has said in the past on her podcast. Basically, in short, she said a few years ago, this was during the Oscars. Remember when there were no black actors or actresses nominated? There was the whole Oscars, #Oscars so white.
So white, yeah.
Moment going on. And Stassi said on her podcast, I'm sick of everything being about race. And that, of course, resurfaced this week and is turning into a bigger thing, which I'm sure she deeply regrets ever saying that. Now, the bigger question regarding Vanderpump, and I've actually been saying this for years, I don't understand how Faith is the only black person that has ever been on the show. And I don't understand how there's no gay person in working in West Hollywood at one of these restaurants, that there's no gay cast member.
Well, and the funny thing is, I know people, I'm sure you do too, that work at Tom Tom and Sir that are gay, that are African American. I mean, I do know they're just not on the show. Like they're actually even there, they just don't highlight them on the show. But yeah, also Stassi's having a bad week with that faith stuff resurfacing.
Yes.
And, just so, I mean, Stassi's going to, and Kristen as well, and bad week for Kristen to release her book.
So you know what we're referring to? Faith, who you guys know who Faith is, Jackson Faith. She did an interview with somebody from MTV's The Challenge, which she was also on. And she basically said that Stassi and Kristen once called the cops on her, and they all came after her when the cheating scandal broke a few years ago. And she basically said that it was very difficult being the only black person on this large ensemble cast. And it's an interesting, it just came out. It's an interesting watch. It's an Instagram live, and it's all being kicked up. I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised if there's going to be a new cast member who's black next season.
Well, and that's the thing too, is that you then, which is amazing, but it cuts to the core of the problem with Vanderpump Rules this season, is that if you all of a sudden start adding all these minority characters, you're then once again not even solving the actual problem of Vanderpump Rules, is that it's not real. These people aren't naturally coming in. It's all these people were friends originally on Vanderpump Rules. That's what made it fascinating. They had all real relationships. When you're doing actual casting, where you cast Max or Brett, when you cast Brett, a YouTuber or whatever the F, and get he's not naturally there. He's there because he's good looking and he was told to work there so he can be on the show. That's a huge problem with Vanderpump Rules. So all of a sudden, we're smart as audiences. We've gotten really smart over this last decade. Is that you start jamming a bunch of minority characters? Awesome. But find a way that they naturally fit. Is Jax Taylor's dealer bisexual? Great. I want it to be natural, though. I want it to be allegedly.
That's hilarious. Actually, that is very funny. Keep going.
I want it to be natural, though. That's the problem, is that we know that these aren't real. We know that's what we felt this season about Vanderpump Rules, is that we're not seeing any sort of reality. And I know these people have minority friends. I know that. Then let's see, I want to hear their stories. By the way, Jesse Montana, I believe, is a Asian American that has worked he's always in the background at all of those party scenes. I want to know Jesse's story now. He's I believe a gay man.
Does he work at Pump?
He works at Sir, I believe. Yeah, I always see him at Sir, but he's a singer. I've always seen him at every one of the events I go to. What? I mean, come on, they're right there. It's right there. Those real moments are right there. Why can't we? That's why one of the most chilling moments of this Vanderpump Rules season was the final moment of the whole show when they broke the fourth wall, because we know it's real. We feel when it's real, and we feel when we're being bullshitted, and we've got bullshitted a lot. So I'm all for more minority cast members. Yes, but let's find a way to naturally introduce them. You want it to be the actuality of somebody's life experience, and that's why Southern Charm is probably going to be in big trouble for the rest of their run, if they even come back.
They probably won't come back.
Yeah, there's no way. I mean, they're going to spin off into some Boys Town or something, because all the ladies quit, except for Catherine, who's horrible.
One last thing that we have to talk about. So I would say the only sort of humorous thing that happened this week is the Lea Michelle moment that's going on. I mean, this is so delicious, and there is so much to unpack. How well versed are you on this?
Well, she did shit in my wig at one point, so I feel decently versed.
Very good.
It is. I mean, could you imagine? I mean, here's the weird thing: is that could you imagine in Lea Michelle's tiny little world or head or whatever, there's no way that she thought this week she would be a part of the conversation about her being I don't think she had any concept in her world that she would have to, and deservedly so, answer for past aggressions, microaggressions, all of these things. Yet she wakes up and I mean, not to use the word of the show, but the glee that people are taking in it.
Yes.
The absolute glee. That's why I like Twitter. I really got to eventually get off Twitter, because it is just a pile on. Like, I mean, it's like the Glee people are taking.
No, the Glee people, it's unbelievable. To just like quickly brief you guys, basically, Lea Michelle, as everybody else did this week, tweeted out a statement saying that she stands in solidarity with the Black community, supports Black Lives Matter, etc. An actress who I believe did one season on Glee, she did a subtweet saying, I'll give the quote because it's hilarious. Subtweeted, LMAO, laughing my ass off. Remember when you made my first television gig a living hell? Because I'll never forget it. I believe you told everyone that if you had the opportunity, you would, quote, shit in my wig, amongst other traumatic microaggressions that made me question a career in Hollywood. So that was a Glee actress who responded. And then Alex Newell, who I remember from that reality show, The Glee Project. And then he eventually went on to have like a 1 or 2 season arc on Glee. He tweeted basically he had the same experience. She was awful. And then something interesting started to come out. Cast members from Spring Awakening started.
I saw that with her on Broadway all those years ago. I saw her version of
Wait, you saw her in Spring Awakening?
Yes, I was a huge Spring Awakening fan when it came out, and I actually when I would take like yearly trips to New York, and amazing. I happened to be there and saw that version with her and what's his name,
Jonathan Groff. It's a classic. I'm surprised there has not yet been a movie of Spring Awakening, actually. Spring Awakening, Rent, these are all the best. But in the middle of all of this, and listen, everyone is coming out of the woodwork. One of the actors tweeted, or I think it was an actress tweeted, saying Lea threw a cast party in the Hamptons for Spring Awakening, and this person was an understudy and was turned away at the door because Lea said, real actors only, no understudies. Or like it was something of the effect of like real cast. It was a real cast only party. No understudies or swings or anything like that.
That's the other thing. It's not that she's being mean. It's also the way she's being mean. It's like, the thing is, like, I'm around actors all the time. I coach actors for a living, and it's like we're a motley bunch. But to say I hope I could shit in your wig, like that's where it gets even like on a different level of sickness of like, whoa, you're not even just being mean. You're being mean in this really weird verbal way of like.
It's very Regina George.
It's very Regina George, but it's also very like Harvey Weinstein. Like there's like something like a weird, like kind of like not Harvey Weinstein in the sexual sense of just like those stories you would hear about him like yelling and like saying these crazy things of like, I'm going to fucking ruin you. Like it makes her seem like this tornado of bad activity that like.
Somebody literally said, you treated me subhuman on Glee.
Lea Michelle's PR person must have been having like for an insane week already, must have really added to that poor PR person's.
All right. They made a statement, but it was just like, I'm going to learn from.
I'm going to listen.
Blah, blah, blah. The funniest tweet I saw, I think it was maybe Ira Madison. He wrote the funniest thing. He said, who's going to play Lea in Feud Glee, which was hilarious. And I also read, like, guess she's not going to be getting the Idina Menzel part in the Wicked movie after this.
You know, it's so funny. I once, when I was in high school, I would come out to LA for summers and I would work as like an extras assistant to an extras casting director. And I remember there was a movie called The Cell way back in the day, like Vince Vaughn, Jennifer Lopez.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I remember, like, I was so enamored with Hollywood and movies since I was a little kid, like anything pop culture. And I remember Jennifer Lopez one day did not come to set. Because of, what was it? I remember that it was like she was throwing a fit about her hair. So she refused to come to set and shut down production for the day. And I was like, but this is like, it's diva behavior, where it's like, I come from this kind of Midwestern background where my mom was like, you always say thank you. You always say please. You never. So that's why this diva behavior is horrible. And at the same time fascinating, because you're like, what is the psychology of a person that feels free enough to do these things that affect so many other people, and then to think that they can continually get away with it, that it just, I mean, we're hearing all the Ellen rumors this past couple months.
I was just going to say, it's the Glee, no pun intended, like the glee around it is very similar to Ellen DeGeneres in the sense that both Ellen and Lea Michelle had these reputations. It's the fact that they're now being exposed.
Yeah.
And you just said something about the psychology of this diva behavior. I have a teeny tiny bit of insight. Take it for what it's worth. I have a hunch as far as Lea Michelle in terms of like where it was learned from. So I have a friend who many years ago, she was on Broadway. She was in Fiddler on Broadway with Rosie O'Donnell and Harvey Fierstein. And she was in something with Lea Michelle. Oh, yeah, she was in Fiddler with Lea Michelle. Lea Michelle was in Fiddler. So they did that together. And my friend was also in Les Mis. Never like a starring role. She was always, like a swing or like a smaller role. This is many years ago, 2007, 2008. And I remember her telling us, like our group of friends, how when you are in a hit show, and particularly when you are the star and are becoming famous on Broadway in a hit show, going from an unknown, like you're not an established actress that's just like plucked onto Broadway, meaning you just came up through the ranks and now you're the star of a hit Broadway show. It is very much like a cool kids clique on Broadway. And there is a little bit of the mentality that they're the cool kids in high school. Like the Broadway community is a little bit like high school, and like the different shows. I actually just recently had a former Broadway dancer on this podcast, Isaac Boots, and he's now a fitness guy. But anyway, he kind of spoke a little bit to this, and I think that's where it came from. I think it's that she started on Broadway when she was really young, and became famous. To become famous on Broadway is so rare. It's so rare. And then to jump into TV fame on a hit television show, it's such rarefied air to be a complete unknown and then thrust into fame in both stage and on TV. I think that if you just have that, if you're told how amazing you are from the time you're in high school, you may develop these tendencies when everybody is kissing your ass.
And it'll be interesting to see her or anybody, like, once you're canceled, or like I'm fascinated in that story. That, by the way, they should do like an MTV kind of version of like they used to do Made. They should do Canceled, and like the story of coming back from being canceled. And each week it'll focus on like somebody else, and they have like the canceled guru of like making amends, and like on Made when they had that person
like the fixer or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
The Olivia Pope of who's Lea Michelle's Olivia Pope. Let's jump into Beverly Hills.
Oh my God!
There's a lot going on.
Wait, Jessica, you know about Big Pharma, right? They've been following me all day before this podcast. So just if it cuts out, it's Big Pharma and 5G and a Faraday cage. And I just want you to know.
I've said this before. I swear to God, I'd watch a spinoff with Denise and Aaron.
Okay, the only thing that sucks is that he said he was going to crush her effing hand.
That was totally insane. But also, can we talk about the fact that they did not caption that? Like usually when things are like muttered under people's breaths, or if they're not facing the camera, they will subtitle it. Pretty much like all these things Dorinda says. Did you notice that they didn't caption that?
But I did. Well, but then I had a listener in Canada or Australia. I'm trying to remember, but they said they did caption it over there. And I asked to get a picture of it.
Oh, that's so interesting.
But also Aaron, like also him like talking down to the ladies of like, but also what I do need I need to know everything about that dude's life. Like then like I didn't realize he was married to
Nicolette Sheridan.
Nicolette Sheridan. I mean, who's also married to Michael Bolton for a while. Like
who was married to Harry Hamlin, P.S.
Yeah, I know, that's what I'm saying. Like it all is intertwined, and I need to know. Like now I just wish there's like, this is why I am in agreement of having cameras everywhere at all times, because I want the footage of when Denise and Aaron first met. Like I want to know the talks they have. And my theory is that Denise is literally just like zones him out most of the time and just like, yeah, amazing sex, and just like doesn't even listen. Like, yeah, he goes on about 5G for like hours. She like does not hear any of it,
I'm very excited. The mid-season trailer looked amazing. Obviously, they're bringing back, Kim Richards and Faye Resnick and like all these different people. But the Erika Jane Aaron confrontation that's about to happen, I'm really kind of on the edge of my seat waiting for that. In addition to the Brandy stuff, of course. How do you think Garcelle is doing?
Okay, so she's a creeper. Like, I mean, Sutton was like, if you want to go by new people, Sutton made the bigger splash so far. Garcelle, they're really taking the time to set up her life. We've seen her friends, which, by the way, when it like Will Smith's ex, like, wow, would love to see that whole crew like all the time. I want to hear that thing, but they've really managed to set up. So we've got her family life, we've gotten her business life, and we've got her friend life. So they've really taken the time to set up the foundation of Garcelle. And the last couple of episodes, we are getting the hints that she does not like Kyle. So we're getting that.
Except here's the thing. We're not given a reason why. Something happened off camera. Her comments on Watch What Happens Live, so she basically said Kyle was the only one who wasn't welcoming, when she joined the cast. And why? Like, something bigger. It's more than her explanation on camera. Something clearly happened. So much of Beverly Hills is about is just shit that happened behind the scenes. And we're just like not privy to it yet. I bet it'll come out at the reunion, but we're not getting all the pieces.
But isn't it funny, though, as a viewer, I love this in any kind of art, is that the audience will always fill in those blank spaces. It's like sometimes, though, like for me, it didn't need to be explained. In my head, I was just like, well, sometimes you just don't like people. You get a bad feeling and you I didn't almost need a reason because I will fill in those blanks blanks myself. The audience will do half of the work. The audience will always come halfway. All you need to meet is the audience halfway. And for me, I put in that blank spot. But what I do love is that she obviously they like her enough where they have set up her whole story. So now it's really dependent on what we see her do with that. Is that now we've got all the pieces. We know her ex-husband. We know her kids. We know her so what are we going to do with all that information? How is that going to play in to everything? And where can she be an asset? And right now it looks like they're mainly using her as a potential asset to kick Queen Kyle down. Also, I guess a question for you. Do you think Kyle will win an Oscar for her role in Halloween? It seems like the biggest acting role that anybody's ever had.
Funniest thing would happen if she gets cut from the movie.
Well, my theory is she's an extra in the movie. She has 0 lines. And actually what happened was that she went away for so long because she got a facelift and had to wait for the surgery to heal. And that's why she has the bangs, because that's where the scars are up top of her head.
That is hilarious. That is so funny. My only issue, I actually really, really like Garcelle. Any day of the week, I would love to spend time with Garcelle over Sutton. Garcelle's just my kind of person over Sutton. She's just way more authentic. But the issue, Garcelle's flaw is that she's busy filming all these other projects while they're filming Housewives. You can't be absent. If you're on a Housewives show, no offense, but this Housewives show you're filming has a much bigger audience than whatever these other actressy projects are. You gotta be there.
Yeah, that's why I didn't like Paige this season of Summer House, because I'm like, yo, dude, it's called Summer House. You got to be there on the weekends. You can't be with Perry, your boyfriend, off camp. No, it's called Summer House. We need you at the Summer House on the weekends. You can't just beg off for a weekend. No, it's the Summer House.
That's funny. This is an ongoing issue, though, with Garcelle. She's missing trips. Come on. You can't be absent for so much.
But don't you think that also is a producer edict? Because whatever happened between this season and last season has been monumental. You notice how they're jumping on there. Literally, it's pass me the salt. Why would you do that with the salt? They're jumping on any fight that they can. I've never seen it's near the end of an episode because Kyle will start crying. I've never seen Kyle cry so many times in each episode. They're really going after her. Everybody's told to pick up the fight. Erika Jane is sharing more. I think the Garcelle thing was to bring a little star power like Denise Richards the year before, and it's in their budget, but it still is a name of some sort because I think that is a contractual thing of okay, we can say we cast you and we will work around your schedule. But you're right. I think they had to do a lot of things to try to get this franchise back to where, and I think it's working. That's why I'm not worried about Garcelle at all, because I'm like, cool. Like, there is so much going on that I can pick apart right now. To me, I'm like, okay, cool. Garcelle might not be like killing it right now, but like, I'll just pay attention to Sutton for a while. Garcelle will have her moment.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I like that take. That's a good take. But yet the quote, Aaron's quote, "Don't tell me what to say, I'll crush your fucking hand." Insane. I loved the scene of the two of them at that steakhouse in Malibu. I really would just want to watch the two of them.
And I love just Aaron, just such a brick of a man. You know, like, so I imagine any lady that meets him, he's already a good looking guy. And then he starts going on about this crazy stuff. So girls just tune out, but they're like, I guess he's smart. Wow. He's the whole package. Like, not saying like he's literally I made an Aaron mood board yesterday on my Instagram, and it was just like all like 5G and big pharma. And like, wasn't that hysterical when they said that Big Pharma was following them?
Of course, yeah.
And then they flashed back to the following scene, and then they flashed right back to the scene that he was talking. I'm like, stay with that scene. I want to see Big Pharma following them, and them realize like it was just paparazzi, or it was actually your crew. Like, it was the Beverly Hills crew. Like, who like Denise, like does Aaron think Big Pharma, like, he knows he's married to Denise Richards, right? Like, he, like, just because somebody's following you doesn't mean it's Big Pharma.
It's so good. Tell me what else you're obsessed with, pop culture wise.
Pop culture wise, I went through a really weird obsession with A Star Is Born last year.
Good.
And not even like, I mean, the Lady Gaga of it, sure. Like, I've got my tickets to Chromatica. I'm great, but like, I was fixated on like small things. Like, I got obsessed with Bradley Cooper's beard and voice. I was like, hey, got taking another look at you, fucking idiot. You know, like, I was like, I loved, like, to me, for some reason, there's those like little pop culture, like little pockets that I just sat there. I did this on my podcast a lot, where I would just got taking another look at. I just loved, for some reason, I just loved it. I loved it. And like, I really was entranced by A Star Is Born. Like, I had a whole like fixation with that for a while. I've gone through like, trying to think what else I've been fixated on. I mean, I really go deep in fixation with Vanderpump Rules, and like, tell
me why Jax is your enemy ground zero.
I think he is the epitome of our culture these days. Is that I feel like, wait a sec, this guy is only failing upwards. This guy literally has cheated and lied, and we've seen it. And he continues to lie. He continues to do all the things but yet he continues. And then like he rails against people like Sandoval. And like, okay, back to sports. They have like a thing called a referee in sports, where they make these calls, and they're decided calls. We need a referee for Vanderpump Rules. Like, Jax is committing crimes. Like, how the hell is Jax? Like, by the way, this whole faith conversation. Guess who skated out of it? Jax again, who actually cheated on his like girlfriend at the time with Faith, said she was ugly and like didn't want to have sex with her on a recording. Like, Jax, some kind of mystical power escapes all of this stuff, like sort of like a president of ours right now.
Have you ever met him?
Oh yeah.
Tell me.
Well, you know, I like you, I've been in a lot of background scenes, but mainly Vanderpump Rules, and I always find it funny. I'll do like background scenes for them, and I rail against him so much. And Brittany has always been so nice. Like, I mean, I don't know her, but like very nice. And we asked to like get a picture with Jack. She's like, I'll get him. He does anything I say. And then he came out, and like, you know, he was nice and took a picture. But this was before I even did the podcast. And now I don't think, like, somebody got me a cameo from him for my birthday, and I almost crapped myself, because I was like, oh my God, I just don't even want like to even hear him say my name. I got like, I don't think he'll ever find out about the podcast, but a lot of people will, like, I make a lot of Instagram posts about him, and I have to like block a lot of people because they'll snitch tag. They'll tag him in the like, and I have to block a lot of people, and because I find it's like my passion making fun of Jax. But like, I don't think I could ever. I don't want to ever hang out with Jax in real life. Like I've hung out with Sandoval and Ariana, and they're like dope. Like, they're exactly who you think they are on screen. They're a lot of fun, and I actually like really like them. But I don't like Jax. The camera, for whatever, you can say you got a bad edit and stuff like that, but here's the deal: the camera picks up something like some weird alchemy. It picks up what you're thinking. It picks you up, and it's usually not too far off. Not to say people can't change, but Jax's redemption arc to me is completely, you know, performative and silly. You know, like it's like him carrying around his dad in a box, you know, and like pointing it out all the time. It's horrific what happened to his dad, but there is a performative element to everything that Jax does for sympathy. Everything is a sympathetic, like, oh, feel bad for me. Even like this past week when he knew he looked horrible on the reunion, he bought a lot of his cast members a grill and sent it to them, but made sure to post it on his social media. Hey, Schwartz, enjoy your new grill. Hey, like, you know, like, I'm such a good guy. And it's just, to me, that is like, but my dad pointed it out. I made him watch Vanderpump Rules for the first time this year. It's like, you got to have a villain. You got to. I don't know if we can get rid of Jax. I don't know how he really stays in the show, but you can't get rid of him because he's an easy villain.
What scenes were you part of, or like in the back, or like just at while they were filming?
Oh, actually, I have actually with Laura Marie Sheinholz in the FOMO in Mexico episode last year. It was me and her, and Lisa comes up to us and asks how the vegan pasta is, and Laura says like, good, and then I go, spicy, and we actually had lines and everything. But the funny thing is, that was filmed after the fact. Like that was like a fake setup scene. We came in early to shoot. I thought I was an extra in a scene, and me and Laura showed up, and then it was like, and her friend Tierney, and it like, then they were like mic'd us up, and all of a sudden it was just us in the restaurant. And they're like, oh, Lisa's gonna come up to you, and you know, you're gonna say this, and like, I was like, oh. And it was like 3 months after the actual events in the show happened. They were just getting a pickup shot of this, and like Richardson was in it too, and then they let us stay once the Tom Tom opened again and stuff. Like, so I've been in that. That was like my big claim to fame, because I actually had a line and a meme made of it, so that was exciting. But I've been in like just those quick shots where they need to show how busy the restaurant is. Which, by the way, you guys, Sir is never that busy during the day. Just FYI. Like, they always show those day scenes at Sir, and it's like always packed now. I'm like, that is just not the reality of how Sir is. So just like background, and I was at Ariana's birthday party a couple seasons ago when she did the King and Queens theme. And I was at Sandoval's birthday the year before. And that was the first time I met any of them, and I was sweating so hard.
So how did you get invited to the birthdays?
Because I actually then became friendly with Ariana, and my friend Molly, who knew them as well, like invited me. So it was just one of those things.
I love it. Anything else you want to share? I mean, you guys, like, Ryan's podcast is so bad it's good, and I know you actually do a lot of Kardashian work on there.
Yeah. I used to do a Kardashian podcast called Realizing Stuff, but I still love to visit that family because it's like that family has been through everything, and there's so, I mean, you could just talk for ages, and what a story. Like, no matter what you feel about them, the ascension of the Kardashians is something that will be studied in media forever, you know? And by the way, one of the worst reality shows on TV for a family that has everything, like they'll have like one scene and then 50 minutes of filler. Like, you know, this family, they could have the best reality show that's ever been of reality shows, and it's just like now just kind of a commercial. It's a shell of what it once was.
But I like that they're breaking the fourth wall now.
Yes, totally dig that. I totally love that. I think all shows should do that. I hope Vanderpump Rules does that more next season. I think it is, the audience deserves it. Like, we know these people aren't working at Vanderpump Rules, like at Sir. Like, we know.
Let me ask you, because you do appear to be a very strong Vanderpump scholar. Whom of the new people do you think, or who of the new people do you predict they will bring back?
Okay, so I had Charlie on my podcast a couple weeks ago, and she gave it really. If you got because Charlie got like 5 minutes of screen time this season, I hope they bring her back, because that girl has some layers that nobody has seen. And it would have been like, she has a really interesting, sometimes tragic story that would have been weird for them to introduce this season as little as we saw her. But I hope that we get more of her next season, because, by the way, if you saw her put down Jax Taylor this week, you know, what an amazing moment to say, old man, you got to go to bed. That's like somebody slaying an old dragon. Like, Charlie's a dragon slayer. And I think Brett and Max need to go.
Yeah,
they will probably keep Max, because Max is legitimately does manage Tom Tom, but Brett should go. Brett was so thirsty in every scene. He tried to get involved in every scene. It was so fake to me. Danica will definitely be back. That is somebody that I believe, and Danica will be on my podcast next week.
Oh, awesome. Dana will for sure be back.
Dana will be, yeah, but also to me, Dana was fine. Like, you know, she got a little annoying as the season went on, because they kept trying to jam the like the most boring love triangle down our throats that we like. I mean, nobody even seemed to want to be in the love triangle that was in the love triangle. Like, I was like, what are we arguing about how much we don't like Dana? Like, I don't get it. But Danica, I think, is ready to pop. Like, here is somebody that I think legitimately in her real life pops off. Like, let's get a camera on this girl and let's go, you know?
Do you think they will bring back the chick who worked in Vegas?
It seems like they really set her up for that. But I've always heard those rumors, I'm sure you have, that they were doing a Vanderpump Vegas spinoff. Like, eventually what I think they should do is have Sheena move to that Vegas thing, have her be the head of servers in Vegas.
Sheena legitimately did move to Vegas because she was doing a play in Vegas, and she this X play, and she pitched it to Bravo as a spinoff, and they didn't bite. So I think that ship has sailed.
I think ship has sailed, but they really are pushing that little Sheena, but I didn't know if it was just like kind of like a kitschy thing that they were doing, like, but who knows? I just hope that they actually, instead of trying to go bigger and better, like, try to go more inward and like go lower. Let's make it real. Let's go back to the roots. Let's really do the time in pre-production of like finding out every story. Let's find these stories, you know, let's find, and, you know, Max recently on Instagram this week has been apologizing more for his tweets and things like that. And it's come out that he's half black, I guess, because of his grandfather and his mother.
He said it on the reunion.
Yeah, well, but he's been doing all these Instagram posts of him, you know, and I like, let's hear more of that story. Let's hear more of the story of once you say some boneheaded shit, how you come back from it. Like, I want to see that. Like, if you're going to be on the show, don't be just sleepy-eyed. Let me see you do something. And I don't care if you guys go like throw axes at some like place or like clean up the beach. Let's like just go to a pool and you guys can talk. I don't need these setup events. Like, just talk about what's going on around you. Open up that fourth wall. Say, hey, Jax, you took me down on Twitter this week. What the F, dude? Like, let's have those face-offs. Like, Why are you such a bully, you know?
I see Max just makes me totally sick to like look at and to watch. I think he has no personality. I don't get the attraction.
I don't get why all these ladies, even if you have a big dong, which is rumored to have a big dong, pardon my French.
I don't give a shit. He has no personality. I don't want to watch him.
He's sleeping his way through the show, and I don't get why Schwartz and Sandoval love him so much. I'm like, is he like I've met him a couple times. He's really nice, like whatever, but like he might be one of those people that just doesn't pop on screen. He doesn't pop on like DJ James Kennedy. You love him or hate him, he pops on screen.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Great at the talking heads. Great at that. Like, but Brett and Max to me does not pop at all.
I think they both have to go. And we can't suffer another season with Max.
There's no shame in like course correcting. There's no shame. Like, I'm sure Max and Brett, it'll be hard to let him go. I'm sure everybody's friends with them. I'm sure it'll be very sad. But like, come on. Like, this show, regardless, is still not a ratings juggernaut, but it gets solid ratings. You know, everybody was like, oh, wouldn't that be amazing if that was the last scene of Vanderpump Rules? How fitting it would be. Guess what, guys? It will never be, because the show is bringing in advertising dollars. It's not even their decision if they wanted to end it. This show will keep going for at least 3 more seasons. Lisa's not going anywhere. The production company needs it. Evolution is not going to end it because we thought it was a fitting moment.
What's your prediction on if and when Lisa will come back to Housewives?
I think it's one of those things where it'll be 2 more seasons. And it will be one of those things. And then I can't wait, because you can already see it. Like, you can already see the shot of like a big pink hat, like with the head down. And then all of a sudden, like some moment, it should be like, you rang, you know, like, oh, darling, naughty, 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 you know, like it'll be something like that. Like, and I can already see it in my head because like, hell, I mean, didn't like Heather Locklear come back to Melrose Place at some time?
Yes.
Like, things happen. Like, this is good pop culture, so it will definitely happen. But I need her to be less on Vanderpump Rules. There was too many scenes of her this season with like, well, Lisa, let me tell you what's going on, and having things explained to Lisa, and that was a scene.
Well, it was all like that. Lisa became way too expository. Her scenes became way too expository and not enough actually moving the plot forward. In the past, she always moved the plot forward, but. Do you think the only way she will return to Housewives is with like a Lala or a Stassi in tow? Because she needs an ally.
Ooh, damn. And that's where I think Lala would actually, because Lala really annoyed the F out of me this season. Really had very horrible scenes, in my opinion. But I would love
both Stassi and Lala. They changed their tune on this. Initially, they were like, "No, we would never want to do Housewives." And I think Stassi and Lala each said on their podcasts, like, anybody would fucking jump to go on Beverly Hills.
Well, yeah, money's a crazy thing. Like making money. I mean, yeah, of course. I would love to see Lala on Beverly Hills. I would love to see it.
Do you think it would happen?
I do. Yeah, I do. I think that's the kind of Bravo multiverse, this Bravo cinematic universe. That's what we need.
Yep.
That's kind of like that idea of like trading people, of like bringing them up the ranks. The MTV's The Challenge does that. They'll bring in other people from other things. They're already established entities. So imagine seeing one of your favorite characters from a certain entity over in here and how they interact. You have a built-in audience, and I think you could bring new viewers, younger viewers, and it would put those ladies on their feet. I think that's why Lea is so successful on New York, because it's really highlighting how this is the hour-long version of the Golden Girls. And you only really notice that when Leah's there, when people are complaining about tattoos and like things like that, And I think that would be so great to highlight. Imagine Kyle being threatened because Lala's wearing better clothes than, there's so many possibilities there that I think that is such a great way, because Lala, once again, like, where does Lala fit into this? She's working at Vanderpump Dogs? Like,
yeah,
what?
She either needs to jump to Housewives, or I don't know where she fits in. This has been so much fun. I can't.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I just babbled.
Ryan, I love it. I can't wait to talk to you and jump on your show.
By the way, I cannot wait for. That's what I love this. Now I feel like I have a friend. I can't wait for part 2 of this, because this is what podcasts should be. Is like two friends talking about something that they really, really are passionate about, no matter what the subject.
When I talk to you next time on your show, I'll tell you. If you want, I can tell you the story. Literally a year ago, I went to Mexico, and Bethany and the boyfriend were at the resort, and I did yoga. Yoga with Bethany. Yoga alone, like me, the instructor, Bethany, and like one other individual.
Did she Instagram during?
She Instagrammed after.
Oh God! Did you that would?
She turned her mat to face a little like rainforest, like overlook, like not facing the instructor. I'll tell you everything.
God, yeah, I need to know how her downward dog was. Definitely,
she's amazing at yoga, by the way.
Yeah, but this has been amazing. Like, this is why I love it. Like, I kind of was like trudging through the day, and now I'm like fired up. Like, I really, really love speaking about this stuff. So thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Tell everyone, you are kind of blowing up as like almost like a new meme account on your on Instagram. So tell everyone again the name of your show and where they can follow you on Insta.
So it's called So Bad It's Good with Ryan Bailey. Find it at Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Give it a chance. It will be long. It will be daunting. There are timestamps, so feel free to skip around. It's like a virus. Eventually, you'll get into it. But really, it's there for you guys to enjoy. There's no pressure, but I think you'll find something to enjoy in every episode. Also on Instagram, you can find me at So Bad It's Good with Ryan Bailey. If you're there, please reach out to me and tell me how I know you, so I can follow you back. And I love conversations with everybody. This is like my dream, to have all these people that can talk about this stuff. If you like the podcast, consider leaving it a 5-star review. Consider subscribing. Those things help all of us.
Awesome. Guys, you can follow me, Jess XNYC. Follow the show account, Hot Takes Deep Dives. And we'll see you soon. Thanks, guys.